Chapter 35, Telling It Like It Is. Mother Jones was a pugnacious little woman and fearless. The worst things that could happen to a person had happened to her, so nothing else ever scared her. Her real name was Mary Harris Jones, and she was living in Memphis, Tennessee when her children caught yellow fever. In those days, before modern medicines, yellow fever was a killer. Mary Jones's 4 boys died. Then her husband died. She was all alone. She got her courage together, moved to Chicago, and opened a dressmaking shop. Mrs. Jones had style, and she knew how to sew. She was becoming successful when in 1871 Chicago had a great fire. Some say Mrs. O'Leary's cow kicked over a lantern that started it. However it began, the whole city burned, and Mary Jones's business with it. She was left with nothing. That decided her. If she was going to start all over again, she wanted to do something important with her life. She wanted to help others. It was children she worked hardest to help. Mother Jones was tiny, about 5 feet tall, with white hair. It turned white after her children died. She was called Mother because she seemed like a nice old lady until she opened her mouth. She swore like a trooper, had the energy of a battalion, and spoke in ear-splitting tones. Clarence Darrow, a famous lawyer, wrote of her, "Mother Jones' fearless soul always drew her to seek the spot where the fight was the hottest and the danger was greatest." She wanted people to know the plight of child workers, so she marched a group of young mill workers from Pennsylvania to New York. Most prosperous New Yorkers had never seen a mill child. The toll of these children makes others wealthy, she explained. Here's a textbook on economics, Mother Jones said, as she introduced little James Ashworth to a crowd. James's back was bent from carrying 75-pound factory loads. He gets $3 a week, working in a carpet factory 10 hours a day. Then she introduced Gussie Ragnew, a little girl from whom all the childhood has gone. Gussie, whose tired face was like an old woman's, packed stockings all day long, day after day, summer, winter, spring, and fall. Some people don't want to learn about unpleasant things. The police called Mother Jones a public nuisance. They arrested her. When the judge asked who gave her a permit to speak on the streets, she said, "Patrick Henry, Thomas Jefferson, and John Adams." Mother Jones was sent to jail more than once. In jail, she spoke of George Washington as a gentleman agitator who had fought the powerful English establishment. Each time Mother Jones got out of jail, she went right back to speaking out for workers. "I'm not a humanitarian," she said. "I'm a hellraiser." Actually, she was both. And she was very good at getting attention. Mother Jones made people think about America's working children. Here is part of what she wrote after going into a cotton mill in Alabama, where she worked along with the children. Little girls and boys, barefooted, walked up and down between the endless rows of spindles, reaching the little hands into the machinery to repair snapped threads. They crawled under machinery to oil it. They replaced spindles all day long, all night through. 6-year-olds with faces of 60 did an 8-hour shift for 10 cents a day. The machines built in the North were built for the hands of little children. At the lunch half hour, the children would fall asleep over their lunch of cornbread and fat pork. They would lie on the bare floor and sleep. Sleep was their recreation, their release, as play is to a free child. These children weren't slaves, but they might as well have been. This was another form of servitude. Something needed to be done. Laws were needed to keep children in school. Laws were needed to make working conditions safe for all workers. And there was something else, besides working conditions, that needed regulating. It was the products themselves. Since there were no laws to prevent it, some meat packers put dangerous spoiled meat in hot dogs. Some manufacturers built toys that could hurt children. There were no laws about these things because in the early days, people bought meat from a butcher they knew. Toys were usually made at home. Now, with big factories and modern transportation, People were buying things made far from their homes. Mother Jones wasn't the only one concerned. Writers were writing about the problems of unregulated business. Theodore Roosevelt called those writers muckrakers because they raked up muck and told people about it. They were important. You can't clean up muck unless you know where it is. Eventually, laws were passed to protect children and make going to school compulsory. A Pure Food and Drug Act helped make our food safe. It was those who shouted out, like Mother Jones, who made those laws happen. The militant, not the meek, shall inherit the earth, said Mother Jones. What did she mean by that? In the 20th century, reformers and labor unions helped bring better wages and conditions to most of Americans' workers. Child labor laws limited the hours that children could work. New laws said that children had to go to school. You can read this part on your own. You can pause the video.